Hello, this is Ennis from Never Stop Trucking. We are going to be talking about a few topics in today's video. First topic I'm going to be talking about is lowballing brokers from other countries. And the second one, I am trying to figure out the trucking business, the way it works, but do some deep research. Now, the first one that I'm doing today, the first research is how to figure out whether you're going to be profitable once you first are starting your trucking business, and if you're going to be making any money. So I made a spreadsheet, like very simple table, and then I separated the profit from the loss and all of that, and what are the conditions for each one of them. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And then also I'm going to be talking at the end of the video about waiting game and panic booking as far as the loads go, because some people will claim that one is better than the other. For example, if you should book ahead or wait till the last minute and book a decent paying load. So let's start with the lowballing brokers from other countries. I spoke to someone the other day, and they said they're from a different country. They're not from here. I'm not going to be mentioning any countries because I just don't want it to, I don't want to do any stereotypes. But most of us know where the most dispatchers are coming from right now, from which countries. So I spoke to one guy there, and he said that they purchased a brokerage. So as you know, if you wanted to have your own authority, whether it's a trucking authority or a brokerage, you will have to apply with the FMCSA with an address that's in United States, and it has to be a legit address. So what some of these guys are doing, somehow they're opening them up here. Maybe they have a relative or a friend here and they just open it in their name, or they will purchase a brokerage from here that's already functioning. And this guy told me that, and I told him, like, hey, you never set foot in the United States. You're not from here. You don't live here. How can you have a brokerage? And he said, we purchased one. So if you have a brokerage like that, and if you know the standard of living here in the United States and across the world, and the same goes, that's another problem with the dispatching fees. Most of these people that live abroad, they can get by with low dispatching fees. And now a lot of truckers here, owner operators, they're saying like, hey, well, why should I go with you? Your percentage is twice as much from, or even 3 times as much as what I can get. Same thing with brokerage. Right now, these guys can have a decent profit by lowballing these shippers, right? So they go to a shipper and they say, well, I can do this load for cheaper. And they don't have to have a big profit. For them, it adds up. It's about the volume. And they don't have that many expenses. Like even if they have employees, they don't have to pay them much. Even if they're working from home or if they're renting an office, their overhead expenses are not that big, and they can afford that. So to me, that's I don't think that's the way this should be working. You can't be working like that, right? So FMCSA, unfortunately, they are not doing anything to stop that. The DAT board and some other websites, all they are doing is blocking the IP addresses, nothing else. And even with this guy I spoke in this video that I released yesterday, the way they get brokers' accounts from DAT board, these scammers, they will create a fake website, and they will do the so-called phishing game. They will just send randomly to all the email addresses, all the trucking companies, something, or brokerages, something like, hey, you need to change your password, or something has been compromised, or whatever the case might be, and they create a same looking page, same looking login page as DAT board, and they go in, put in their password, and now they're having their password. They go in, change the contact information, change everything, and now they have access to a DAT account from a broker or from a trucking company, and now they can do whatever they want. It's as easy as that, right? And they have this two-factor authentication thing, but it's not helping. It's not helping at all. So bear in mind that right now, if you see a small brokerage, especially if it's a newly formed one, that this brokerage might be operating from outside of the United States. And I don't want to work with brokerages like that, right? Because they don't have to go by US law, like they don't have to pay you. And who are you gonna go after if they don't pay you? No one. So let's go to the second topic here, and that's the mapping of the trucking business. That's kind of my title. And let me show you this, right? So might look a little bit complicated, but let me explain. So here, I wanted to give you a clue. If you're just starting your trucking company, or if you have been in it for a while, I want to show you what will work for you and what will not. And this is from my own experience. I am not acting as this guru that knows all of that. I'm just talking from the experience, from what I have tried and what I realized, what worked and what hasn't worked. And some of these are pretty obvious, but a lot of people will not listen. I would talk to them and they would just go their own way. And I tell them for their own good, like, don't do it that way, because I don't have anything from your gain or from your loss. I just don't want you to do that same mistake. So here in the middle, in the gray cells here, we have the names of these factors, like whether you as an owner have experience, right? Or if you're having anything to invest in this company, right? So this is you. Do you have experience? Do you have money to invest? I might try to make this a little bit bigger so you can see better. Okay, that should be okay. Okay, right here. So do you have assets like truck, trailer? What about your drivers, the freight that you're doing, etc.? Okay, here, the more green the column is, the better for you. The more red, the worse for you. And here in the yellow section, I have a comments like what's going to happen if you go into the red, right? What's the result of that? So let's start with the experience. You want to start a company, or you're already starting it. Do you have any experience in that? If you have long experience here on the left, that's the best case scenario. You might be successful, right? That's a good starting point. You have short experience, still okay. At least you did some research, okay? Well, that's fine. Now here on the right, if you have no experience at all, that's going to be a problem. If you have no clue about anything about trucking, it's going to be even worse. If you're out of touch with reality, and what I mean by that is, like I keep telling these guys, you can't believe everything you're seeing on social networks. You can't believe everyone. You have to do your own research and feel it on your own skin. But they just do it anyway. They keep doing, right? So they're out of touch with reality. And once we go through this whole list, the more factors that check out for you here on the left, the better for you. The more on the right, the worse. So if you have a combination, like in most of these things that apply to you are here on the right hand side into the red, then that's a big sign for you that you should not start trucking, right? You should not be in this. But the more things you have on the left, then that shows you that you might have a chance trucking, right? So it doesn't have to be everything on one side or the other, but like the more you have on one side, that will kind of tell you if this is okay for you. So let's go with investments. Do you have any money to invest? If you have a lot of cash in your hands and you're putting that money into the business, that's a really good sign, and you should have that if you want to start trucking. Next best thing is personal savings. You might have some personal savings. That's good, because you're not going to be profitable in the beginning at all in any business, especially in trucking. So if you have personal savings that you can live off for a few months, maybe even a year, that will help you. Okay, so you don't expect any money from the business. You're just putting everything and leaving everything there. And then if you're profitable, even better. But just leave it there. Don't touch it. So that's a big lesson from my own experience. Don't expect and don't withdraw money in the beginning. You have to have personal savings that you can live off. And everyone will tell you that when you first start a business, you have to have at least 6 months of savings. But I recommend even a year, just to be safe, because this industry is very volatile. Now here, and then I left some of these empty, right? Because I just don't want to make this too complicated. So cash or personal savings is really good. Now, a bad thing for you is going to be if you have to borrow money from a friend or relative for someone, because you will be owing them money, and now they feel like they have a part in your business, and then down the road they might say, hey, like if it wasn't for me, like I helped this guy and blah blah blah. So are you gonna be able to give them the money back? But the only good thing about this is that probably there is not going to be interest. Most likely they're not going to expect more money to get back. It's just like you borrow $10,000, you give them back $10,000, right? Now, the next thing, a bad thing for you is you don't have any cash in your accounts, your personal accounts or your business accounts. Like you have no cash at all. Okay, that's bad. That's bad. That's like a recipe for failure. And then starting with a loan, that's really bad. Now, I'm not talking about assets. I'm talking about a loan for your overhead expenses, for your pay. Like you're going to live off a loan because you have to have a pay. You don't have any other sources of income. Starting with a loan, if it's a credit card, doesn't matter, personal loan, a line of credit, the credit, like the loan for your house, because some people will take that like based on their house. It's bad. Don't do that. If you have to do this, don't do the bit. Like you can, I would tell you because you're not going to be profitable for the first year or 2 or 3. You're going to be having to return that money back. And like there's no point in the business. Okay, if you are working for someone else and giving that money back to them. Okay, now assets, talking about trucks or trailers. If you bought them with cash, cool, right? That's the best thing you can do. You got some cash, you need trucks or trailers, you buy them with cash. That's really good. No assets at all. What I mean by that, like maybe you can have someone driving under your authority, an owner operator, a friend, a relative, or someone else that you find, and this way you don't have to invest any money in the assets. It's all it's their truck. They just lease on to you, and usually there is no investment. Like it may be like $300-400 to get the ELD, the signs, the drug test, or that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, same thing if you're buying a truck. Private borrowing from someone else is bad. Bank loan is also bad, but it's not the worst, right? A lot of people will do that. And most people will actually, because right now the trucks are expensive. So most people, if you do get a bank loan, make sure you look into the terms, you look at the interest and all of that. Make sure it's a good loan with a reputable bank, okay? And then these so-called shark loans, like if they, whenever you get a something in your mail and they tell you you can get the funds in 24 to 48 hours. That's what it is. These are these shark loans. For example, they'll give you $10,000. You have to return them 15 within like 6 months or 9 months or 12 months. And they might charge you weekly or even daily. So these are those loans. These loans are bad, right? Sometimes people will take them because they have no choice. The only good thing about them is that you pay them out quickly, but they will eat all your profit. And like you didn't even start, and you got this shark loan for your truck where they will charge you like $300, $500, $800 each week, or even more, depending on how much you borrow. And then here on the right, I forgot the first, like as far as the experience goes, what's the result of like being in this area here? But if you don't know anything about trucking here, you will have no insights what your trucking business is doing, how it's doing, right? If you borrow a lot of money to start, you will always be behind. You will always be negative. You will always be behind on your bills, on your pay, on everything. You always have to struggle. At the end of the week, you have to always like bang your head against the wall, figuratively speaking, in order to figure out how to survive that week or that month. You'll always be behind if you don't have any cash. And then here with these credits, with loans, you have a creditor controls everything, right? They control your business, your trucks, not in a literal sense, but like behind the scenes. You can't do anything with the truck. If you want to sell it, and you still owe them money, you have to return that money. If you are behind on your payments, they will threaten you. They might sue you. Things like that, okay? So they will have some control, a lot of control, whether you want to admit it or not. Okay, next thing is drivers. When we're talking about drivers, if you have an experienced driver, that's the best case scenario, and of course, dependable. If you have an okay driver, that's still okay, better than a bad driver. But if you find a driver that they have no communication, you don't know where they are, you don't tell you what's going on, they're late, then that's bad. If you have a driver that's not a runner, that's instead of driving at least like 2,000-3,000 miles a week, that's driving like 1,000 miles a week, then you can't be profitable, okay? And then if you have a problematic driver, that's really the worst case scenario. Like the driver doesn't take care of equipment, it's not safe on the road, does a lot of bad things. So that's the worst case scenario. Now let's talk about freight. If you can book freight with excellent pay, of course, that's the best thing. Above average pay, it's still okay, and average pay, right? So it's okay, but it could be better. Now, if you keep booking loads that are under average pay, that's of course bad, or underpaid, or really cheap, right? So now the result for that is that this will not cover any of your expenses. Like you will not be profitable. You can't even cover the expenses, let alone be profitable, right? So we want to book good freight, good paying freight. Now invoices, as far as the invoices go, if they pay you early, whether it's a factoring company or billing brokers directly, then that's good. If they're on time, okay, average pay time, still good. But if they're late, there's no healthy cash flow for you. So you gotta figure out like who to work with, if it's a factoring company or if the brokers you're working with, you have to check them out, check how fast they pay, if they pay you directly. Now, as far as expenses go, of course, there are no good expenses, but there are some of them are inevitable. So you have to cover your expenses. So for example, driver pay, it's not a good expense, but it's an expense that you have, and the more the truck drives, the more the truck makes, the more you pay the driver usually, right? So if you pay substantial amounts of money to the driver, that means that your truck is also doing well. So we want it, right? Well, of course, you don't want to overpay the driver and pay them a lot of money for doing a little work and you not being profitable. But the idea is that if the truck moves a lot, if the driver is paid by mile, then that means that hopefully you were able to make a lot of money. Same thing with percentage. If the driver is making a lot of money, if the driver's pay is based on percentage, that means you probably made a lot of money too. Same thing with employees. If you have employees, that means hopefully that you have a lot of trucks and that you're doing well, right? Because otherwise you would not have employees. You would do everything yourself if you were a small company. And the fuel discounts, if you have a good fuel discounts, if you watch your drivers and the apps that you might have, like check out the RTS fuel discounts that we can hook you up in the description of this video. Those are good because they have an app, and the driver or you can go into the app and look at the real-time discounts. Now, another expense that's okay is maintenance, especially the preventive maintenance. If you're doing preventive maintenance on your trucks, that means that hopefully they're not going to break down on the road. So that's good, and there's no way around that. Like do the PMs to change the oil, prevent everything. Do your DOT inspections maybe every 6 months, not every year. So you're on top of everything. And then of course subscriptions. You have to have subscriptions to different services like DAT board, truck stop, internet, phone, things like that. All right. So those are expenses that you have to have. Now, what are some bad expenses that like you can prevent and then you can try to lower? Well, breakdowns. If you have a breakdown on the road or even at home, breakdowns will cost you a lot of money. And one thing, one way to prevent a big breakdown on the road is a preventive maintenance and a good driver. So if your mechanic or you yourself is always looking at the truck, making sure you're fixing the little stuff because before it becomes something bigger, or if you have a driver that will tell you right away something is wrong with the truck, it doesn't feel right, then you can go to the shop, preferably a local shop where you're going to pay less money and you can avoid bigger expenses. No fuel discounts. That's also like make sure a lot of fuel cards right now have fuel discounts. So make sure you get one with fuel discounts. Creditors, of course, that's a bad expense. You have to pay them no matter what. You have to pay interest. So you're giving money out of your pocket. For example, your truck might have been $100,000, and if you finance it, you might pay like $120,000, $130,000 with the interest rate. So that's bad. Claims are also bad, and you can prevent them with a good driver. Right? If you have a good driver, responsible driver, then hopefully you can prevent a lot of accidents, a lot of trouble on the road, and therefore a lot of claims. You don't just pay for the what's the name? The $1,000 or $2,000 deductible. Most companies will have a deductible. It's not just that. There will be a claim on your record, and insurance might raise your prices, stuff like that. So you don't want that, right? And then expenses. A bad thing with expenses if you have no oversight, whether that's because you're just lazy or you don't know how to. Get a good bookkeeper if you don't know how to do any of that. If you have no clue how that works, get a good bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper can take care of that for you. But generally, if you have no oversight for any reason, you don't see where the money is going, where you're spending the most money, then you're not going to be profitable, and that's really a bad sign for your company. And then also we have overspending here. Like if you're overspending on things that you don't need, you buy duplicate things. You get more expensive things and you could have saved money by getting cheaper things, or you can avoid purchasing something all along, or if you're giving yourself a lot of money from the company, right? as a personal draw. So that's bad. What's the result of that? Well, no profit, right? You're not going to be profitable at all. So what's the point of having this company? And then here at the end, as far as the results go, of course, if you have more things that check out on the left, you're going to be successful. If you have most things that check out here, you're going to be profitable. Here, you're going to be getting by. And most trucking companies are here, right? You're just getting by. That's it. And then here, the bad thing is if everything checks out here on most things, you're not going to have any profit. So what's the point? No profit. Failure, and then here catastrophic loss. So what's the difference between failure and catastrophic loss? Well, failure is just like you fail. Okay, you close everything down. Maybe you have to go bankrupt, but you fail and you're like, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to do something else. But here, you might owe people money. They might come after you. They might sue you. You're going to be in a lot of debt, and this is a catastrophic loss. So hopefully this will help you, and I hope to make a couple of more something like this, but we'll see if I have time for that. And now one more thing I wanted to talk to you about here is the waiting game and panic booking. So should you wait till the end of the day or till the afternoon to book a load? It depends. Some people will claim, hey, like I have one driver and he always wants a load ahead. And there is a point, like if there is a good load, like a broker is posting a good load today for tomorrow or for 2 days ahead, that load is probably going to be paying good anyway. And some drivers will say, hey, just take it for me. And I'm like that when I used to drive. I'll be like, hey, just get me a load. I can plan my trip. I can be there on time. I can go directly to the shipper tonight, to the receiver, unload my load in the morning, and then I have all the information for my next load. I go pick it up, and I don't drive throughout the night. I don't wait a lot. I don't waste a lot of money, and I'm planning, right? I'm planning. But some drivers might say, hey, I don't care, like just wait for a good load, or even some dispatchers. But that's a lot of risk. And the people that are leaning towards waiting and playing that waiting game, they will say, hey, well, most of the times I will be able to book a good load. Okay, well, maybe you would, but that would only work if you have a driver that wants to do that wants to play that game. Because if you have a driver that doesn't wait, and no matter if it's an owner, operator, or company driver, because sometimes even company drivers are going to be like, hey, I started my hours this morning, and now I'm sitting for 5 hours. My clock is ticking. Like, how do I even get to the next delivery? And in my opinion, they're right. But owner operators, some of them are going to be saying, well, I don't want to wait. I want a load right now. I want a load in ahead. And they're not going to stay for you. They're not going to stay with you for a long time if you keep doing that. So you have to have a driver that wants to do it, and then you cannot have a lot of trucks. If you have a few trucks and you have all the time in the world and just sit there and wait, and something comes up and you're like, okay, I'm going to book it. Okay, sure. If you have a couple of trucks, 3, 4, 5, but if you have 7, 8, 10 trucks that you need to cover, you can't play that game. Like, that's going to be very stressful, and most likely a lot of them if you do it for all of them, a lot of them will stay. You're not going to be able to find a good paying load because maybe someone canceled the load and it's like last minute something. It's a gamble. It's a big gamble, and I'm not in this business to gamble. Okay, so in my opinion, that does not work. Only if you have a couple of drivers who are willing to do that, and you don't mind, like it's not getting to your mind. To me, like, it's very stressful. I don't want to deal with that stress. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and if you want to lease on to Isoro Express as an owner operator, check out the information in the description of this video. Support the channel with other links in this description of this video. Thanks for watching.